What is up everyone? Today we are helping a friend to upgrade his computer, so let's go. In this build, we are actually working with a Bitfinex Prodigy. Since we are only upgrading the components of the computer, this SSD drive is already pre-installed into the case, but if you don't know how to put this one in, just plug in the SATA cable that way. That's it. You cannot go wrong because it can only go one way. Same goes with this old hard drive, but since it's the old one, you need to plug in a Molex cable to power it up. This one is the Molex SATA cable, which is powered by your power supply. These fans are also pre-installed, so we don't have to take it off. In this build, we are upgrading the CPU, so we ended up buying a Ryzen 7 3800X with a B450 GB DS3H with Wi-Fi. Now let's take the motherboard out of the box. In the box, it should have two SATA cables, the motherboard itself, the back plates, some CDs, instructions, and all those things that you don't even read anyways. It is actually recommended to wear a static wrist strap, but I don't have that, so I actually just tap this ground on the socket every now and then. Let's take the CPU out. Here's the Ryzen 7 3800X. To install a CPU, just open this latch right here. Take your CPU carefully. Then you should be able to see the gold arrow at the corner right there, top right, and you just need to match that into the motherboard, which is located down there. You will feel that the CPU will actually lie there perfectly, and then you can just put the latch back on. For the CPU fan, we're just using the stock, which is the RGB Stealth Wraith, I believe. But depending on the CPU fan that you'll be using, you can just follow the instructions on that one. But for this, we just have to latch this one onto the CPU. Just make sure the lever is actually fully open first before putting it on, like this. That's close. This is open. Since the lock mechanism is actually facing us, we should be putting the other side on first and then clip this one before locking it. Alright, and yeah, we actually did put some pressure in there. And just connect this connector to your system fan or CPU fan, doesn't matter. For the RAM, we are actually using a Ripjaw 16GB colored red, of course, to match our CPU case. And to install that to your motherboard, simply just open this clips right here and stick it in. It can only go one way, so don't be scared, guys. Yeah, usually you're gonna hear a click on this one, but I don't know, the motherboard doesn't feel perfect, so I have to manually close it. Okay, now it's time to move on. Remember this hard drive right here? We're not using it. We're taking that one out because my friend actually wanted to replace that with a NVMe SSD or M.2 SSD, whatever you want to call it. This one is actually a lot better than that and also a lot smaller. This one is super easy to install, guys. Just take this screw out that comes with your motherboard, put the SSD into the port right there, press down and screw. Next, I like to put this cable at the back so that when we install the motherboard inside the case, these cables are gonna be hidden because they're gonna be at the back of the board. Now just install the motherboard pegs so you can screw them into the case. But before that, don't forget the back plate. Now let's proceed with putting the power supply in. This one is a lot more complicated than usual because most CPU case you don't have to put this extra cable right here, but this case just have it, so yeah. Time to put the motherboard in. Before putting the graphics card in, just make sure you empty the slot at the back of the plate. Make sure the PCIe connector is in the open position. Then stick that end into the other end. You can only go one way again, guys, so you cannot go wrong with this. Make sure it's locked. Since I already put most of the CPU components in, now I just have to put this one fan back in. On to the back side. Here we have two PCIe power cables to power a graphics card. A 24-pin cable for your motherboard, and another cable for your CPU. The CPU power cable is actually going in there. Sorry guys, I wasn't able to put the camera inside, but if you look at the top part of your motherboard close to the CPU, you'll see this 6-pin or 8-pin connector, and this cable is actually going in there. Onto the 24-pin. This one is fairly easy. You can see the 24-pin connector right there. Just stick it in. You might have to put a little wiggle because it's really tight, but you'll get it. Now the PCIe cable for the graphics card. In this case, I'm only going to be using 4 because that is the only recommended power, but some GPU requires 8. This part you don't have to do. I just want to put a zip tie on those cables so it's just easier to manage. All of these fans right here, you just need to connect them into the motherboard, but apparently I wasn't able to take a video of that into this motherboard, so I was gonna show you this instead. They will going to look like this, and just stick it into any pin that says fan into your motherboard. Your CPU case will also come with a couple cables. This is one of them. This is the audio cable, which is going to the audio pins. And this one is the USB 3.0, which is obviously going to the USB 3 pins. And for this front headers, it will look different into a different kind of motherboards, but I can tell you how to read the labels. You will going to have all of these cables from your CPU case, And this is the diagram that you'll be looking for from your motherboard's manual. And you read them like this. All you have to do now is match this to this. And the couplings doesn't actually have any orientation, so you can plug them in anyway. And there, my friend, you just assembled a computer with the components in. It's not too hard, right? Thank you so much guys for watching. If you have any more questions, just leave them down in the comments below and hit that like button. Thank you so much guys for watching. If you are staying home, stay home. Just be safe, people. Peace.